Okay, I think we're ready to get started. I want to welcome you to Junior Information Night. Hopefully the information that you gathered and the information that you're going to get from the speakers will help you guide your son or daughter in the right direction, and so they will get a good fit and attend a school that's good for them and choose a career that's good for them. And that's, I guess that's what our goal is through the process here, is to get them to be successful and like what they do. My name is John Paul. I'm the junior class guidance counselor, if you didn't know. And I would like to just go over this yellow sheet just quickly. I'm not going to take a lot of time on it, but just so you know, probably on a bi-monthly basis, I do give the juniors one of these junior information sheets like this, and it has just things that are coming up, things of interest, things you might want to participate in, so encourage them to bring that home. I know sometimes that sits on the bottom of their locker or gets lost in their knapsack, but it's hard to get information to the parents. We do have our newsletter, which I try to put important dates in and events, and I also do this. So please check the newsletter and periodically ask your son or daughter if Mr. Paul did give them a junior information newsletter. As you know, ACT, for those of the students that are going to attend a four-year college, is something that needs to be taken. I suggest, and I tell the students and any parent that calls, that the April date is a pretty good date to take, pretty good timing to take that ACT. April 6th is that date, and the packet has to be in by March 1st, and we have some packets out there if you need them. Okay, and I will be happy to answer any questions on that. You know, if you want to call or stop in, I can do that. But ACT, that'll allow them also to take it in June if they do not receive the score that they wish to receive, and that way they will take it twice before their senior year, and it's just one thing, hopefully, that you can get out of the way, so to speak, because there are, you know, lots of different things to do during that senior year. So again, it's up to you. That's my suggestion with the ACT. If you're going to take the SAT, and a lot of people ask, should my son or daughter take the SAT? All of our Wisconsin schools, except the ACT, you do not have to take the SAT, all of them, okay? Schools that may require the SAT are schools like Northwestern or Notre Dame, or schools out west like Stanford, and schools out east, Harvard, Yale, and you know, Boston College and things like that. So please check. You know, I'll be happy to answer that question if you call or your son or daughter comes in and asks whether the SAT is also required. But for the most part, ACT is sufficient. Okay. The first thing I have on here, and I'll go over this quickly, is we do have an ACT workshop that we're going to offer at Merrill High School on Wednesday, March 20th and Thursday, March 21st from 6 to 9. ACT, people from ZAPS will go over kind of skill taking and how to take the ACT. From what we've experienced, it's a good class. Okay. And again, that's an option for you. There is a cost on that of $45 that you will be getting information. ZAPS will mail every one of you information on the ACT, so on the ZAPS workshop. Okay, so if you want to sign up for that, that's going to be in the large group instruction on March 20th and 21st. All right. We are going to host a Wisconsin Educational Fair this year. Merrill High School is. I think it's an excellent opportunity for juniors and junior parents to come. There's going to be over probably 80 to 100 college reps, military people in the field house to answer your questions from schools all over the state and Midwest, Illinois, Minnesota, Iowa. Great opportunity for you to gather lots of information on colleges that your son or daughter may be interested in attending. So please keep the date April 22nd from 6:30 to 8:30 at night. And also April 23rd from 9 to 11 in the morning. Keep those dates and mark them on your calendar. I think it'd be I think it's just great timing for juniors to start that process. Campus visits. You should be thinking about campus visits. I think I talk about getting a good fit for college. It's important that whatever school they attend, they feel comfortable with, they like the atmosphere, they like the class size, they like the town. One of the ways to do that is to take a campus visit. Okay, so just keep that in the back of your mind. That's something I think you need to do. And parents, you need to go along with, at least one of you. If son or daughter comes back and says, hey, I had a great time, that's where I want to go, sometimes you don't know what a great time means. So it's important that you go to that. Military academies, if any student is interested in military academies, now is the time to start that process. Please see me. All right? Job shadow opportunities, we have an excellent job shadow program where students can go and spend a day or half a day at a job site that they're interested in to see if they really like it. Marla Kunkel does an excellent job of setting that up and would be happy to set up that with anybody that's interested. Please take advantage of that if you want to. Okay. I have the ACT and SAT dates on that, and Al Tetzoff will talk a little bit about that. And that's about it for the newsletter. One thing I do want to point out with campus visits there's a help site on the internet, and I have the email address on there. It's uwhelp.wisconsin.edu. It's an excellent site to initially find information about any campus you want in Wisconsin. Okay, so click on that, and you can look at all of those schools. Okay, the first person I'd like to introduce is Kathy Colclaser, who is going to talk about scholarships.
Thank you, John. I'm the scholarship coordinator for Merrill High School, which means basically that I handle all the scholarships that come through or across the desk here in the high school. As most of you are very well aware, I don't think I'm telling you anything new, Merrill High School has the largest scholarship program in the state of Wisconsin, bar none. Probably, I know of the schools in the area were at least 8-10 times as large as any of our neighboring schools. Let me explain to you how all this works. Parents start calling freshman year for their students and want to know, what do we do to make sure they get a scholarship, or when do they apply? The answer is, you don't apply till your senior year for 99% of them. The only one that I deal with that starts earlier than that is the Anson Scholarship to Notre Dame. There will be a meeting this spring for any students that are considering applying for the Anson, which is our full ride scholarship to the University of Notre Dame. Just a little bit of information for you. To earn this scholarship, to win this scholarship, you have to be absolute top of the class. In fact, if you're not darn close to a straight A student, don't even bother to apply because you're not going to stand a chance. Of the last 10, 12 people we sent there, every single one of them has ranked in the top 10 students in the class. Most of them were #1. So just keep that in mind. The meeting will be held probably in April, and I'll just explain how you apply for it. I divide the scholarships up that I work with into local and non-local scholarships. The local ones are the ones that the school controls that use our uniform application blank. Non-local scholarships are anything else that comes across my desk, and there's a whale of a lot of them to do. When you begin your senior year, you are going to receive a monthly newsletter from me. It's mailed to the parents, and you will see in it just a couple of little news messages every month, and then the rest of it is basically a list of any scholarship that I know of that's available at the moment. These are the things that come from, we just had one this past week on the Wild Turkey Association, from the Vietnam veterans, from the VFW, from Walmart, from Herb Cole, oh Lordy, just literally a multitude of them. I probably list 20 or 30 in every single one of those newsletters. A lot of them are ones that probably nobody will be interested in, but in the off chance that someone might, I do put down the name of it, and the information is always given that I have the application blanks in the guidance office. You can come in and pick them up there. Then it's up to you to fill those out and mail them in on your own. And we'll give you all the help you need in filling them out. These will come throughout the year. So read that newsletter every month when it comes next year. If there's anything at all that you might apply for, fill the thing out and send it in. You never know when you'll luck out. Just for an example, and this is whatever, in this month's issue, we're putting in one about Cellcom. Last year, my son, who's a junior at Madison, just happened to be walking through the mall and saw a little brochure from Cellcom on a counter, you know, where they're selling all their phones and all that stuff. He picked it up, filled it out, and about 6 weeks later was informed he was one of the 20 winners from the state of Wisconsin. They give it not only to high school seniors, but to students that are presently in college. So that was a real pleasant surprise that we weren't expecting for his junior year. One thing about those blanks and about the blanks for our local scholarships, I think the number one thing that I have to stress is neatness counts, and it counts immensely. Make sure any application you fill in for anything is picture perfect. Absolutely picture perfect. As neat as it can be. No words are crossed out, no scribbles, no scratching. Everything is spelled 100% perfect. Everything is arranged exactly as it should be. Make the thing a work of art because you're going to impress the people looking at it a little bit. If they get one that's messy, you can bet that they're not going to pay that much attention to it. The local scholarships here at Merrill High School, which are the ones that everybody gets all excited about, you don't have to worry about those until more than halfway through your senior year. We start working with those during second semester. For this year, and it will be comparable next, there will be a meeting for all parents of seniors interested in applying for local scholarships in the evening sometime in February or early March. And the exact same meeting will be held the next day for the senior students up in the large group instruction center. And at that meeting, I will go over every single one of our local scholarships, explaining just what it is and what the procedures are to apply, what it takes to be eligible for it, and so on. I'll pass out paper copies of the application so you can see what it looks like. However, the application must be done on one of the computers in the school, or you can download the form onto a disk, take it home, and do it on your own computer. But the application must be done on computer. You'll get all the details on this next year. Our scholarships range from several that are basically full rides, the Gensel and the O'Reilly that are 4 years to UW-Madison, the Fromm that is for students out of the Maple Grove area and is 4 years to any school in the state that they wish to attend. We have several other 4-year ones. We have a lot, a multitude. The majority of ours are smaller ones, maybe $500, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, and we even have a couple that just give $100, $200, but remember, every single little bit you can pick up helps immensely. And then we have one absolutely brand new one. In fact, you people tonight are absolutely the first people, other than a couple of the authorities here in the school, that are hearing about it. And this one will begin next year with your class. It's going to be called the Erwin G. Roosh Scholarship, and it will be a 4-year scholarship, technically to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, for a student who wants to major in civil engineering. There are a couple little ifs, ands, buts connected with it. You do not have to go to Madison all 4 years, because he wants to keep the opportunity there for somebody maybe that thinks they want to start out at UW Marathon closer to home, or maybe somebody that's scared of the big campus at Madison and wants to ease themselves in, so they might want to go to Platteville or something to begin with. So your first 2 years you can go anywhere as long as it's in the state of Wisconsin, but then you have to transfer to Madison to get the rest of the scholarship. It will cover tuition and books for 4 years. The other little tidbit about it, you must indicate an interest in civil engineering. This is because Mr. Roosh is a retired civil engineer. He thinks it's the greatest engineering field that there is, and he wants to promote it. However, he understands that maybe some people might try it and decide they don't like it. So the option is there that if you start out in civil engineering and down the road in your schooling you decide it isn't for you, you can still keep the scholarship as long as you transfer to another area within the School of Engineering. If you move out of engineering, decide you're going to be a physicist or something, then you lose the whole thing. But that will be brand new. It will start next year. On the program that was handed out, there is my telephone number here at the high school. I can't hang around tonight to answer any questions because I have another meeting that I have to get to. But if you do have questions, you can call me at work and I will gladly answer anything that I can. I work basically on Wednesdays, although during the spring I put in some extra hours. But you can call, leave a message on my voicemail, and I'll get back to you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Al Tetzloff, our senior guidance counselor, our sophomore guidance counselor at Merrill High School. He's going to talk about college admission, exams, and testing.
Thank you, Jen. Just a little bit of a preface. I'm also going to deal with some of the admissions tests for technical colleges and also the military, and also deal with the four-year universities. What I'd like to start out with is to talk a little bit about the ACT, which is probably the admissions test that most of you will be involved with. The ACT, they did have brochures or registration packets out on the tables out there. The April 6th test, which is coming up very quickly, or the postmark deadline is coming up March 1st, which comes up very quickly. Now, I would like to stress to you people, we do not offer the April 6th test here in Merrill. That is, the closest test site is, I believe, is in Wausau and Anaco. The reason, what I would like to stress to you people is to get these in as early as possible. Why? Because they have certain limitations as far as the numbers that they can allow at a certain test site. Then what happens is once that test site is filled, you will be allowed, or you will be instructed to place, like, I think 3 different test centers. What happens is the first one fills, then they move to your second one. And if the second one is filled, they move to the third one. The third one is filled, and believe it or not, that happens. Then what happens is they try to pick out the closest geographical spot that has openings. And we have had times where we've had students that have been testing in Stevens Point, Marshfield, in places where they obviously would not like to be going, especially when they have to be there at 7:30 in the morning. And now we're talking about having to leave at 5:30 in the morning and to get there on time. So apply early. If you are interested in taking the June 8th test, the June and October test sites are offered here in Merrill. We do have, traditionally, the Badger State Games take place at the same time as in the ACT test site. So we like to stress to people, you can apply for that, or you can fill out the registration packet for the June 8th test site here in Merrill right now. Matter of fact, when we get them in the beginning of the fall, which is probably late August, early September, you can apply for the June 8th test already as soon as we get them. So, but I would stress, apply early. Now, I'd like to just deal with a few common questions. Number one, what's the best way to prepare for the ACT? The statistics have shown that the best way to prepare for the ACT is to take a rigorous academic course, group of courses through your college or high school career. Then after that, what you do is, there are certain things. John mentioned the ZAPS, ZAPS ACT test preparation course. Are they helpful? They can be, and extremely helpful for anybody that has any test anxiety problems. Why? Because you become, a very important part of this is to go through and become familiar with the test. John had talked about the practice test. The practice test is basically a retired test. The ACT will retire their test several times throughout the year and bring in new tests and then make the old retired test available for practice. Why do they do that? For security purposes. So this is actually an ACT test that was given maybe just a matter of a year or two ago. So set the timer and sit down at the kitchen table and take the test. That will help you become familiar with the test. It will help you with understanding what the response tempo needs to be. It will help to hopefully to alleviate some of the tension and anxiety because you become somewhat familiar with what types of things they're looking for. Also in that practice test that comes with the ACT, there are answer keys, and you can actually correct the test and get some sort of an idea how you might come out. When do you take it? John had mentioned April's a good time, and I have to agree with John. For sure, absolutely, you should take it in June. Now, if you take it in April, a lot of students will use that as a practice to kind of get some of the anxiety, some of the bugs out, and get some familiarity with the test, and that's a good idea also. The one problem that you do have is that when you take it at a high school outside of Merrill, then what happens is that you have the natural anxiety of, am I going to be able to find a place, am I going to find the right room, and a lot of times students drive by themselves into a strange situation, so you run into that. So you have to take that into consideration. The other thing I want to stress to people, any of you that test outside of the city of Merrill, make sure you take your admit ticket with you, and your admit ticket will have directions as far as exactly where to report, what time to report, what to bring, and also be sure to bring a picture ID. I admit students for the ACT here in Merrill, and for any student that is out of town that we don't recognize, we're required to have a picture ID, a driver's license, something of that nature. They also will have on there what are other acceptable forms of identification, but we have to have that when we admit people. If not, we're required to deny them, and we have done that, unfortunately. So be sure to take that. Cost $24, and you can have the results sent to 4 different universities. You are allowed to bring a calculator. They recommend that you bring a backup calculator for the simple reason if one dies or the batteries give out. You are allowed, and they also will have a list of different types of calculators that are acceptable. Some are not acceptable. The ones that usually are not are the ones that either make noise, have paper, ones that can communicate, laptop computers are not allowed, that type of thing. But they will have designations in there as far as what calculators are acceptable. Now, we talked about taking the April ACT, and then for sure the June, should you retake in October? Let me just share some statistics. Whenever a student asks me, should I retake it, one of the statistics I like to draw upon is 55, and this is directly off the ACT.org website. And John was kind enough to put that on the handout here, both the website for the ACT and the SAT. But the statistics are 55% will increase, 22% will have no change. So 77% either increase or stay the same. Now the other question often comes up is, what happens if I go down and I misplay my poker hand, and now am I going to be penalized with a lower ACT score? When we go to ACT workshops and listen to admissions counselors, we've been somewhat guaranteed that admissions counselors look for ways to admit. And by that, I mean is that they will automatically look for the highest ACT score. So if you go down, they will take a look at the highest ACT score. So basically, you can't lose. And basically, you'll be out some cartoon time on a Saturday morning and $24. SAT, I'd like to briefly touch on that. John mentioned that the SAT is required in some schools out east, Northwestern. Notre Dame will actually accept both the ACT and the SAT. They prefer the SAT, and that's where we have most of our students taking it. The test dates, we do not offer the SAT here in Merrill, by the way. The SAT test dates are May 4th and June 1st. The closest test site is Wausau. Registration deadlines or postmark deadlines are March 29th for the May 4th test and April 6th for the June 1st test. Now, I do want to mention that if you do not, or if you picked up an ACT registration packet, or if you need to pick up another one, we do have them available in the Career Center in the guidance office here in Merrill. You need to, they take some time. Fill it out carefully, especially the outside two cover pages. The inside two cover pages are more interesting, that type of grades and courses taken. They need to be filled out if this is the first time that you're applying. And if you apply more than once, the inside two pages do not have to be filled out again. But those you can kind of, you do not have to be as judicious as you do with the outside two. The reason you need to be judicious with the outside two is quite simply, if you have incorrect information on there, then that may delay your test result. When you take that April 6th test, you will have a very small window available to you as far as when the results come back and making a decision as far as whether you want to retake the test in June. Some people wait to see their results and they say, fine, this is good, I'm going to go with it. And some wait and see, I better go again, I can raise that, I should try to raise that. But you have a very small window, and if you do not fill out the outside two cover sheets judiciously, it may delay your test results, and then you're kind of stuck in that quandary. Should I or should, what are my scores? You may not be able to get them. For some of you that are sitting out there and you're planning on going to a technical college, thinking, hey, I'm home free, I don't have to take an admissions test. Sorry, yes again. They do require admissions tests. It's not, the average time is about an hour and a half. At MTC, it's called the AccuPlacer. It's done over the computer and costs about $10. Certain types of programs, for example, the medical fields, like radiography and dental hygienist programs, they will require the Allied Health Aptitude Test, also nursing. Now, for technical colleges other than NTC, some of them will have the AccuPlacer, some of them will have another type of admissions test that you simply need to find out, and you most of the time you'll get that with your acceptance letter as far as what you need to do for taking admissions tests. For any of you that are interested in going into the military, we just recently gave or had given the group-administered ASVAB, Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. If you are planning on going into the military branches of services do require the ASVAB, and they will require certain scores for a particular type of career path that you may pursue in the armed services. I do like to stress that. As John said, I work with sophomores. I like to stress with my sophomores, and I did when they were freshmen. These scores are extremely important because if you do have a certain career path that you want to be pursuing, like I said, you do have to meet that certain cut score that they will set, and if you don't meet that, then your options are retaking a test or taking a look at a different career path. So it's extremely important. I will be available afterwards to answer questions. The last thing I do want to mention quite simply is that you pick up the registration packets for the ACT and the SAT, those you mail in for yourself. In closing, I do want to put in a plug for this Wisconsin Education Fair that John had talked about. I will be meeting with my sophomores in another month, and I'm going to be just jumping up and down, waving my arms about what a big deal and what a great opportunity this is. And I would like to encourage each and every one of you in here to attend that. It's a big time. It's a great honor for the Merrill High School to be able to sponsor that. Hope to see everybody there, and please spread the word. And like I said, I'll be available later for questions. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Erica Budzinski. She is representing North Central Technical College, and we'll talk about not only North Central Technical College, but the technical college experience.
Good evening. Actually, I'm here tonight, obviously, to talk to you about North Central Technical College. But I want you to almost look at me as a representative of the Wisconsin Technical College system overall. I do work for NTC, and we do cover the 10-county area in North Central Wisconsin, of course, including Merrill. But very similar in the way we are organized to the rest of the technical colleges in the state. So I'm just going to give you a real quick overview. Sometimes when I'm doing these type of presentations, I have to remind myself that sometimes we have to make sure we're all coming from the same page. And I think I make some assumptions sometimes, and assuming that because we're close to NTC, we all know what it's about. But anyway, to just get into a couple of things about the technical college system overall, and why I talk to students who might be interested in attending a technical college, there are a few selling points that I just want to share with you. The biggest difference between the technical colleges in the state and any of the four-year schools, public or private, is simply our form of instruction and the type of degrees that we grant. Now, of course, at a four-year university, you're going to keep pursuing bachelor's degrees. We offer associate degree and under. Now, I've already misspoken because we do actually offer a four-year degree at NTC, and that's in accounting. We have a four-year accounting program on our campus through the University of Upper Iowa. So I've already lied, so that's a bad start, you know, when I'm public speaking, but we do have a lot of partnerships with 4 years too. So when I say we offer associate degree and under, I mean associate degree and under as your starting point. The biggest thing about the technical college is that we are, we consider ourselves partners with the workforce in the state of Wisconsin. We find that when there are changes in the workforce, we adjust our curriculum to meet those needs. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Although the economy is changing, we are finding that many of our programs are still producing graduates who are filling jobs, are filling needs in the workforce. So people get a little nervous when the economy is the way it is, and we're all included in that. But we have been finding, we actually had a demographer from the Department of Workforce Development speak with us a few months ago and said, the economy is changing, but the workforce still has demands. So we're trying to meet those demands. We do have high placement in the high 90s. That has a change in the past few years. We're proud of that. Our average pay for our graduates is around $27,000 starting. And we do, as I mentioned before, have some partnerships with four-year schools that I'll talk about in just a second. And you'll have to pardon me because my remote mouse is broke. So I just wanted to talk with you real briefly about the workforce in the state of Wisconsin. And the technical college is one way to feed that workforce. We are partners not only with business, but with the universities in the state of Wisconsin as well. I think you're lucky just to be educated in the state of Wisconsin. Technical college, private college, State University, you've got so much to pick from, and this is just one option. We're one of 16 colleges in the state, 16 technical colleges in the technical college system, and we are meeting those needs out in the workforce. And the demands that are being placed on our graduates really come in these 4 areas. The aging population, which of course is having a great effect on our healthcare programs. We're finding we just can't get enough students out of those programs. Of course, technology. The global relationships, we're finding that more and more of our programs have an international component to them. So we do have study abroad opportunities at the technical college, and education for life. So we're finding that we're having students coming to us right out of high school, and they're sitting next to someone who may be working on beefing up their job skills because they're already in a career that's requiring them to move on. So why would you want to choose it? Let's see. Well, we're close to home. It took me about 20 minutes to get here, but it wasn't too tough. We do have some unique programs in the state of Wisconsin that we like to promote with people. We do want you to know that our laser program, Laser Technology, is a 2-year program, unique in the state. Architectural residential design, as well as our educational interpreter. And I've already talked to 2 students tonight interested in 2 of those programs. As I mentioned before, the transfer agreements. We are not the only technical college to have transfer agreements with the 4-year universities. So if you're thinking, you know, a 4-year path is definitely for me, but I really would like to go to NTC and started at a technical college, you're not limiting yourself at all. As I said before, close to home and prepares you for a job that's waiting for you out there. Let me just touch real briefly on the transfer agreements that we have. We recently just signed an agreement, I think about 2 weeks ago, with UW Stout. Sort of an unprecedented agreement in that all of our technical programs are guaranteed transfer into UW Stout in the industrial management bachelor's program at Stout. So if you complete one of our technical degrees, technical associate degrees, you have a guaranteed admission as a junior into Stout. Now there are some grade requirements and that type of thing. It's not quite as cut and dry as it sounds, but we did just sign that agreement, so we're learning more as we get into it. It's brand new, it's 2 weeks old. The UW system, it depends on what kind of program you're in. For example, our early childhood program transfers to already 5 UW schools, and this is a program we just started last year. So we're finding that more and more of our programs are transferring into UW schools, which is a great thing. It covers 2 things. First of all, it keeps that dream alive for students who really do want to pursue that 4-year degree. In addition to that, it provides them the opportunity to have a great part-time job as they're working on their bachelor's degree. For example, our graphic communication technologies program is a 2-year associate degree program. This is one that has already, for the past, I believe it's 2 years probably, has been transferring to UW Stout in their graphic communications management program. A lot of the students are finding jobs as they're pursuing their bachelor's degree over in Menominee because they already have a 2-year associate degree. So they're getting a nice starting wage. They're not having to work at shop floor or something. They're actually working as graphic communication technologists as they're pursuing that 4-year. So it's a great opportunity, and that's why we see ourselves as partners with UW schools in the state. We also have just recently signed agreements with Franklin University and the University of Phoenix. More of our business programs are transferring into these 4-year programs, but again, I just want to reiterate the point that, boy, that 4-year opportunity is still out there. At NTC and WASA, we have over 40 different programs to choose from. We're organized in, like I said before, a very similar fashion to the rest of the technical colleges in the state. We have the 3 divisional areas that all of our programs fall under: the technical and industrial, the business, and the healthcare and human services. Most of the technical colleges will have similar divisions to this. So when I say other ones, I'm talking about Fox Valley, Mid-State, Nicolay, that type of thing. Sorry, I love my remote mouse. I wish it wasn't. Okay, so admission to NTC. As Al mentioned just a little bit ago, our admission requirements are different, obviously, than the 4-year universities. Well, when should you apply? Well, we won't start accepting applications until after your junior year, after your junior grades are in. So once in a while, we will receive applications for the following fall, so that'll be fall of 2003. We may receive some applications in June or July. It's not necessary for you to do that. It depends on what kind of program you're applying to as to whether or not there will be a waiting list. I can almost guarantee right now, dental hygiene, radiography, criminal justice, and nursing will have waiting lists. Now, If you apply early enough and you've met all the admission requirements and you are admissible, you should have a good shot at starting the following fall. A lot of times people will think they're on a waiting list because they've applied, but they're not admissible because they may have not met a requirement. So I would apply. The best time for you to apply to a technical college would be the same time four-year students, four-year university students are applying in the fall of your senior year. We ask that you submit the application fee, all of this, your high school transcripts, and the ACT scores if you've taken it. The ACT is not required for admission at NTC. However, we will accept it, and we will not require you to take the AccuPlacer if you've made an acceptable score on the ACT. We always encourage our students to take the ACT, even though it is not required, because of those agreements that we have with the 4 years. We are finding that more and more of our students are graduating. A lot of them are going out and getting great jobs, but they're also going out and pursuing those 4-year degrees, and they will require that you have taken the ACT. So just keep that in mind. If you haven't taken the ACT and you are not interested in doing that, as Al mentioned, we'll have you take the AccuPlacer on our campus for $10. Okay, so I get to be the lucky one to talk about financial aid. I used to work in financial aid, so I don't know. I think the word must be out. But anyway, a financial aid at NTC is not that different than it would be at any other college. And so I won't go too in depth into it because you're just worried about applications at this point. You won't start worrying about financial aid until the spring semester of your senior year, because you need to wait until your taxes are 2002 taxes are done. Federal aid is the same at NTC as it is at any other college, grants, loans, work study. In addition to that, we do have a scholarship foundation, just like the high school does, and we do accept scholarships for incoming first-year students. So in the spring of your senior year, you could be applying for NTC Foundation scholarships as well. We do have something called the TOP grant, and I was hesitant to talk about it tonight because with the way things are going with the state budget, we are in danger of losing this TOP grant, but I thought I'd throw it out here just so you have it in the back of your mind if your student is interested in coming into a technical college. The TOP grant is available for recent high school graduates. What it is $500 available to you in your first year at a technical college, and this isn't just NTC, by the way. Oh my goodness, all the technical colleges in the state. Simply what it is, when you're admitted into the program, along with your letter of admission, comes an application for the TOP grant. You fill it out. It's essentially name, address, I don't know, blood type. It's a very simple application. It's a one-sided application, and they just pretty much ask you if you graduated from high school and you're attending a technical college. You say yes, and they automatically deduct $500 from your tuition in the first year. On average, our programs are around $5,500. That's total. So you can almost automatically knock $500 off of that if it stays in the state budget. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed for that. The comprehensive cost for our program is $5,500. That's for the 2 years. That's not per semester. That's not per year. That's 2 years. And that's not just tuition. That's tuition, that's fees, and books. That's everything. It doesn't include housing, but usually that isn't too big of a concern. So it's a pretty good deal, especially if you get the TOP grant. Okay, so preparing for NTC, how do you get ready to come to the technical college? Well, the biggest thing I can tell you, if you remember anything I say tonight, please just remember this. It depends on the program you're going into. You need to know what you're looking at now. I'm not saying you have to know right now that I want to go into, I don't know if I want to go into nursing, so what do I do? I'm sure you have an idea. At least start looking at some of the programs that we have. And the reason I say that is because there are programs with admission requirements. I can't tell you how many times I've spoken with seniors who are interested in going into nursing, and then I say, okay, what did you get in chemistry? Well, I didn't have chemistry. They're not admissible. So I'm going to wipe the following phrase out of people's vocabulary. Well, I'm just going to go to the technical college. Oh, every time I hear that, I just cringe. We have admission requirements as well, and I feel bad when people think that maybe it's a second, lesser option for them, and so they think, maybe they've sloughed off in a few classes, or maybe haven't even taken some classes, and then we have to sit there and tell them that they're not admissible. It's just not a good situation. Now, we never slam the door in someone's face and say, too bad, you can't come here. We will work with you to meet those requirements, but you're sitting here right now as juniors, and I'm telling you, if there's a program you're interested in, check out what the admission requirements are, because now is the time you can fix that, and I won't have to sit and tell you, oh, sorry. So, look at the programs. I will tell you right offhand, it's the health programs that are much more selective. They do require that you've had biology, chemistry, and algebra all with a C or better. If you're going into technical programs, of course, we require strong math, strong science. We encourage 3 and 4 years of math and science. And people don't think that about the technical colleges, but we do. I was speaking with some of our mechanical design instructors the other day, and they were frustrated because a couple of their students weren't cutting it in math, and this is high-level math that they're required to do. So, strong math, strong science. We definitely encourage students to have strong written and oral communication skills. You've got to know how to work with your customers and your clients once you graduate, so we will have you taking communication classes as well. So finally, unless there are any questions, I will be here afterward to meet with you. Just for those of you that might be interested in coming to NTC, we do have a campus visit day coming up on April 23rd. We have 2 campus visit days in the spring. We just had one this past week, and April 23rd is our second spring date. This is mostly for juniors. So we're going to be talking to you about the campus. We'll be having you spend some time with some of our students. We'll have you meet with our faculty, check out the labs. And even if you're thinking of 4 years, definitely your route, we still encourage you to check out a technical college. Maybe not NTC, maybe Nicolay or Mid-State. And the reason we do that is because it's an option for you. Every door is open to you at this point, so we encourage you to come and visit us. If you can't come down and see us, you'll probably pass us as you're going somewhere else. You can wave to the campus. You can check out, we have a new website, or I should say a new domain. The new site isn't going up until about a month from now, but it's ntc.edu, which is so much easier. Also my email, which is listed on the agenda, it says budzinski at northcentral.tech. It's budzinski@ntc.edu if you want to email me any questions. So unless there are any now, I will be here afterward. I'll turn it back to you, John. Thanks.
Our next speaker is Mary Pat Cooney-Farrell from St. Norbert's College. She's going to talk about the private college and university experience. So, turn it over to her.
Many ways that you can get there.